Have you ever heard someone say I married a Thai massage girl and it was the best decision I ever made? Yeah, neither have I. Let me set the scene for you. It's 2015 and I'm a freshly single European bloke sitting at home feeling a bit sorry for myself after a breakup. You know how it goes. Itchy feet, restless mind, and a desperate need to get away from it all. So, what do? I book a trip to Thailand of all places.
Back then it was dirt cheap.
And you could go on a 2-week holiday without worrying about your bank balance. I had no clue what I was getting myself into, but I was curious, especially about the nightlife. Next thing I know, I'm landing in Bangkok, all jet-lagged and groggy, but buzzing with excitement. A few hours later, I'm in Pattaya, checking into my hotel. Now, I didn't know much about Thai culture, to be honest. I was just there to explore and meet some ladies, plain and simple. After dropping my bags off, I headed out, ready to see what this place was all about. 5 minutes out the door, and I'm already getting waved into a bar by a group of smiling girls. They clocked me as a newbie straight away. Easy pickings, right? I made the rookie mistake of telling them it was my first time there, and before I knew it, drinks were being ordered left, right, and center. They were rinsing me for all I was worth. But you know what? I didn't mind. It was all part of the fun. And besides, I was loving every second of it. The nights in Pattaya were a blur. Every evening it was a new bar, new faces, and a fresh round of laughter and drinks. It was like living in a candy shop for adults. Everything was shiny, new, and there for the taking. I hardly ever saw the same girl twice, except for the odd daytime meetup. Even then, it was just a bit of beach time, some food, and then back to the hotel for a nap before the next round. But here's the kicker. I ended up breaking my own rule with one bar girl. I went back to her place more than once. Not because I was smitten or anything, just because she was a right laugh. But make no mistake, I was still playing the game, just like she was. Before I knew it, the 2 weeks were up and it was time to head back home. I'll tell you, leaving Pattaya was tough. As soon as I got back, I had the tile and blues, something fierce. I started planning my next trip almost straight away. This time I wanted to stay longer. 2 weeks just wasn't cutting it anymore. My second trip was more of the same, but even better. I stayed for a month, spent my days recovering on the beach, and my nights living it up in the bars. By then I knew how it worked. The girls were in it for the cash, and I was in it for the thrill. No strings, no drama, just good times. Pattaya became my secret obsession, and I kept going back for the next 5 or 6 years. Every chance I got. It was like a second home, a place where I could switch off, have a laugh, and live in the moment. Not a bad way to spend a holiday, if you ask me. You know how it goes. Every holiday I took every bit of time off work. It was all about one place, Pattaya. I was hooked, plain and simple. After a while, it wasn't just a destination. It became my escape from reality. All the rubbish back home, failed relationships, work stress, family drama. None of it mattered the moment I touched down in Pattaya. I left my worries at the airport and stepped into a world where life was all about the moment. For those 6 years, I was a proud Munger, lost in the endless swirl of nightlife, meeting girls and forgetting about everything else. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't living the dream. I couldn't even count how many short-timers and freelancers I met over the years. It was like a blur of good times and no strings attached. Every trip was perfect, always leaving me with a smile on my face, totally satisfied with how I'd spent my time. But then in 2020, it happened. I'd booked another month in Pattaya, expecting it to be just like all the other times, smooth, fun, and carefree. I landed in Bangkok, made my way to Pattaya, and dove right back into the scene. The first night, I short-timed with a bar girl who seemed all right, maybe a bit too eager, but nothing I hadn't seen before. She asked if she could stay the night, and since I'd only paid for short time, I thought, why not? Bit of a bargain, really. That's when it all went sideways. Turns out she was an absolute nutter. After that night, She went full-on stalker mode. She'd bar fine herself just to come find me, lurking around like a shadow. She even started spinning lies to the hotel staff, claiming I was up to no good, trying to get me in trouble. All this after just one night together. It wasn't long before I realized this trip was turning into a proper nightmare. I knew I had to get out of there fast, so I made a break for it and headed to Chiang Mai. But here's the thing. I was so wrapped up in the Pattaya nightlife that I had no clue what else Thailand had to offer. Chiang Mai was nice enough, sure, but it just didn't do it for me. It felt too slow, too tame. So I packed up again and shot back to Bangkok, grabbed a hotel for the night, and started looking for my next move. That's how I ended up in Hua Hin. I don't know what it was, but something changed in me when I got there. The wild nights of Pattaya didn't seem so appealing anymore. I still wanted a drink, still wanted to hit the bars, but I couldn't be bothered with the whole short-time scene. It was like a switch had flipped in my head. So there I was in Hua Hin, relaxed for the first time in years. I found a tuk-tuk driver, told him to take me to any cheap accommodation he could find, and just rolled with it. No plan, no worries, just taking it easy. For once I was content to slow down, leave the craziness behind, and enjoy the quiet. You know how they say all good things come to an end. Well, after years of living it up in Pattaya, something changed in me. I found myself in Hua Hin, a bit by accident really, and for the first time in ages I was happy just taking it easy. Days were spent wandering around sober, soaking up the sun, and nights were reserved for a bit of a tipple, but nothing too wild. I wasn't interested in the usual scene anymore. No bar fines, no lady drinks, just a cold beer and a bit of peace. Then one random day, everything flipped on its head. I was doing my usual walking about, grabbing a bite to eat when I passed a massage parlor. Nothing special about it, but I thought, why not? The moment I walked in, there she was. She wasn't the hottest girl I'd ever seen, but there was something about her, a kind of warmth that made her stand out. And when she didn't offer any extras during the massage, I knew she was different. It sounds mad, but after that massage I felt different, like something had shifted in me. I couldn't get her out of my head. Now, I'm not usually the type to get all twisted up over a girl, but this one, she got under my skin. After a couple of beers, I found myself heading back to that massage parlor only a couple of hours later. When she saw me return, she gave me a cheeky little giggle. Probably knew I was into her, which wasn't hard to guess given I was back so soon. This time I wasn't really there for the massage, I just wanted to see her again. But I knew I couldn't leave without at least trying to ask her out. So, with my heart thumping in my chest, I blurted out, "Would you like to go out sometime when you're not working?" The silence that followed felt like a lifetime, and I was bracing myself for a polite letdown. But to my surprise, she said yes. We arranged to meet the next evening, and I walked out of there feeling like I'd just won the lottery. The next day, I was a bundle of nerves. We hadn't swapped numbers, so there was no way to confirm if the date was still on. I headed to the bar she'd mentioned, half expecting her to be a no-show, but there she was waiting for me.
Cool as you like.
We spent the evening hopping between bars. Nothing too crazy, just having a laugh. She wasn't interested in anything romantic, which was a bit of a letdown, but honestly, it was refreshing being out with someone who wasn't part of the usual Pattaya scene. From that night on, we were inseparable. She came back to my hotel, but nothing happened. Just slept next to each other. No funny business. For the rest of my stay, we were like a proper couple, spending our nights together. We'd go out for drinks, have some street food, even went on a few proper dates. The language barrier made things tricky, but we managed to get by, chatting about life, dreams, and all that. I know what you're thinking. Getting too close to a girl from a massage parlor is a slippery slope. And yeah, I probably got more attached than I should have, but there was something different about her, something that made me forget all the rules I'd set for myself. By the time I had to leave, I knew I'd caught feelings, and that's where things got complicated. She shared with me her life story. The classic tale of a girl from Iceland who migrated to send money back to her struggling family. Despite having heard this narrative more times than I could count, her sincerity struck a chord. I was up front from the start, telling her that I wasn't looking for anything serious, just a friendship. Given my past experiences, particularly with that chaotic girl in Pattaya, I chose to keep things clear and simple. You see, I wasn't sure what I wanted, really. It wasn't a fleeting fling I was after, but I also wasn't ready for a serious relationship. For the sake of privacy, let's call her Noi, a name close to her real one. There were no glaring red flags with her. She was open about her background and her work, and she didn't seem like the type to juggle dozens of other suitors. Returning to my home country, I began the slow process of maintaining our connection. Before the days of instant messaging apps and affordable international calls, staying in touch was a cumbersome task. We exchanged daily SMS messages and occasionally spoke on the phone, though those calls were pricey. My job allowed me to save up, and I began a routine of working hard, saving diligently, and flying back to Thailand whenever I could. Each visit to see Noi was a mix of joy and financial strain, but seeing her made it all worthwhile. Despite the expenditure, I was cautious. I kept a financial safety net, aware of the stories of men getting fleeced by their Thai love interests. I wanted to be prepared just in case. Over time, communication became easier with the rise of mobile internet and Skype. No more costly calls, just regular, affordable conversations. Noi shared her dreams with me. She wanted to bring her daughter back from her ex and build a home in Iceland, closer to her family. I didn't delve deeply into her past, only knowing that her ex was a drinker and prone to violence. Why she'd allowed her daughter to stay with him was a mystery to me, but it wasn't my place to pry. Over the next few years, I visited Noi as often as I could. Our adventures took us all around Thailand, both tourist hotspots and hidden gems. Each trip was a whirlwind of excitement and expense, but I found joy in discovering the country beyond the usual cliches of bars and beaches. One day, Noi revealed she was saving for a place in Bangkok. Her current situation in Hua Hin was cramped, sharing a small room with others. Unsuitable for her daughter, I encouraged her to go for it, offering my support if needed. Though I was willing to help with the move financially, she never asked. I respected her independence and felt a sense of pride in her ambition. The next time I visited Thailand, we had planned a week-long stay in Bangkok at Noi's new place, followed by a trip to Iceland to meet her family. Arriving in Iceland was like stepping into a different world. There were no bars with girls beckoning passers-by or any aggressive attempts to draw you in. It was a tranquil, authentic slice of Thailand, and it felt like a breath of fresh air compared to the bustling tourist hotspots. Noi took me around her hometown, introducing me to her relatives. The language barrier meant I mostly received polite bows and nods. Noi frequently checked in to see if I was comfortable, and if I liked it there, honestly, I had no complaints. The simplicity and quietude of rural Iceland were a welcome change from the frenetic energy of tourist areas. One day, while we were enjoying our time together, Noi's daughter came running to us, holding out her mobile phone. She handed it to Noi, who looked at it with a mix of shock and concern before her daughter quickly ended the call and scampered away. My heart sank. Although I tried to stay calm, something about that interaction felt unsettling. I didn't want to cause a scene or disturb the harmony of Noi's family gathering, so I kept my thoughts to myself. The remainder of our trip in Iceland continued smoothly. We returned to Bangkok, where we enjoyed a few more days at Noi's new place. Despite the fun and comfort of the final days, the strange phone call lingered in my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something hidden beneath the surface, something Noi wasn't sharing with me. Back home, our daily chats and calls continued as usual. With the advent of more accessible internet communication, staying connected became easier. But despite this ease, my nagging suspicion remained. My intuition had been unsettled by that phone call, and it didn't help that my gut feeling was starting to feel like a self-fulfilling prophecy. A few months later, Noi informed me she was going to Hua Hin to visit friends. I didn't think much of it and encouraged her to enjoy her time. However, once she left, she disappeared from all forms of contact. No Skype, no SMS, no replies to emails. She was a ghost. My attempts to reach out were met with red receipts, but no responses. The absence was deafening, and my fears seemed to be materializing after about a week of silence. Noi finally reached out with a vague apology. Her message was more of an inquiry. Are you mad at me now than a genuine explanation? I was hurt and frustrated. Given the years of communication and the financial investment I had made, her sudden disappearance felt like a betrayal. The lack of transparency and the possibility of her seeing someone else were hard pills to swallow. Realizing that the relationship was unlikely to survive this breach of trust, I decided to end things with Noi. I didn't want to delve into the specifics of her behavior or confront her, knowing it would probably only lead to more lies. Her final response was a terse "I'm sorry" without any further explanation. That was the last I heard from her. As winter approached, about 4 months after our breakup, I stumbled upon Noi's Facebook page. There she was, smiling and enjoying the snow. An anomaly given Thailand's tropical climate. She'd clearly traveled to another country with a new man, moving on swiftly. Further digging revealed that her friends were congratulating her on her new life, which suggested that this new relationship had begun before our split. Reflecting on the whole experience, I couldn't help but feel like a fool. The phone call had been a critical moment that raised my suspicions, and it was a blessing in disguise. It forced me to confront the reality of the situation earlier than I might have otherwise. While it was disheartening to see how things ended, I tried to focus on the positive aspects of my time in Thailand. I'd seen more of the country than most tourists, and made some valuable memories along the way. If you found this story eye-opening, or if it resonated with you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more content like this. Your support really helps me keep bringing you stories and insights that matter. If you've had a similar experience or have thoughts on navigating these tricky situations, drop a comment below. I love hearing your perspectives and sharing in the conversation. Also, make sure to click the notification bell so you never miss an update. Trust me, you'll want to stay tuned for what's coming next.